Logic could only help so much. Now it was time for good old-fashioned cop work. Though she was wary, her boss was pretty anti-shifter. The witches hadn't come out yet to humans, but if this looked like any sort of supernatural anything, he'd close his mind off, and she needed him so she could remain on the case until they brought Allie home. Answer their questions and be as helpful as you can. I'll handle the mage part, but the rest will be investigation. She hugged Kathy once more and made the call. Michelle had to put her human mask on when her brethren came in. She got out of the way, assisted with canvassing neighbors, and getting Kathy interviewed on the record. Allie had been missing for at least 4 hours. She'd left the hospital where she'd been on the night shift, and that was the last anyone saw of her. Given the dishes in her sink, it was likely Allie had arrived home and eaten and had a cup of tea. It was her after-work ritual. A quick look at the DVR and it appeared she'd caught up on a few of her favorite shows. Allie usually went to bed about 2 hours after she got home, once she'd eaten and relaxed a while. Given the folded sleep pants and shirt at the foot of the still-made bed, it looked like she'd been taken about an hour to 2 hours after she'd gotten home from work. They'd discovered she was missing so much more quickly than it could have been. Michelle tried to hold on to that. On a normal day, no one would have noticed anything until Allie wouldn't have shown up for her shift later that night. A whole day would have passed, clues growing colder. This was a plus. Michelle needed to keep that in mind to hold back the fear. When she'd gone next door to speak with the neighbor who'd called Kathy, Michelle had learned the neighbor had heard a scuffle, but thought it was the television. She hadn't given it another thought until an hour or so later, when the neighbor had left for work and saw Allie's door had been left ajar. Allie was fastidious and hyper-aware of her safety. She'd never have left her door open like that. She even locked up when she went downstairs to check her mail. Knowing it had been out of character, the neighbor called Kathy right away. Another plus. Though Michelle did urge the neighbor to call the police immediately if she came upon something like that again in the future. After they finished up at the scene, Michelle took Allie's mom home. She made Kathy stay in the car while she did a pass through the house, making sure all was well before she gave the all-clear. She hugged Kathy tight, kissing her cheek. Everything is fine here. No signs of attempted entry. Worry ate at her along with the need to be doing something, anything to bring her friend back safely. If there are mages around, well, maybe you should go stay with friends a while. I can't leave while she's out there. What if she calls? What if she shows up needing me and I'm not here? This is her home, Michelle. I need to be here. Michelle nodded. She'd expected that answer, but she had to try anyway. All right. Why don't you ask someone to stay here with you? Being alone means you're at higher risk. After she spoke with Clan Owen, she needed to contact the local coven to be sure people were told to use extra caution. But the local coven was really just a group of people who got together to barbecue once every few months. That was the extent of their organization as witches, though they had instituted a phone tree after Owen had suggested it a month before. She stood, looking out the windows of a house she'd spent more time in than her own growing up. The enormity of it all hit her with sudden force. Her hands shook, and she balled them into fists. Now was not the time. She pushed it back, as far away as she could, because now was the time to focus. Allie needed her to be smart and strong. She'd never had the two most important parts of her life cross this way before, but the training she'd received from the clan had made her a better cop and a better witch. She could use both right then. You have to find her. Kathy wrung her hands and pulled Michelle out of her little panic attack. She gently untangled Kathy's hands and took them into her own, squeezing. You have my word. I will do everything I possibly can to find her. Michelle didn't promise to save Allie, though she'd do her damnedest. Allie was more like her sister than a friend, but Michelle was a realist. She'd seen enough in her time as a cop. Sometimes, no matter how hard you worked, no matter how much you wanted it, things still came to a bad end. Will you call someone to stay here? Allie's dad had died of cancer 4 years before, and Kathy lived alone. But she had friends and family in the area who'd pull together to help. You think they'd come for me? Kathy's fear was obvious in her tone. From what they say,